My girlfriend lied to me about another guy. I'm struggling to get over it. Thinking about breaking up with my girlfriend of 8 years because I'm struggling to move past a bump in the road. Like the title states, I'm struggling to move past something that happened between us, and it's making me think that I need to end the relationship. So, my girlfriend, 22 female, and I, 22 male, have been dating since high school. We were inseparable in high school, true high school sweethearts. After we graduated, we moved in with each other. My parents moved out of state and her home life was very toxic and she needed to get away. We lived together for a couple years and it was perfect. I worked full-time and went to community college in the evenings while she worked part-time. We had dogs together, it was like our own little family. In 2019 I got a job offer in another state that I couldn't refuse. It was a foot in the door to a competitive field and it would be my first time making real money. It was going to be life-changing for us and our future. She was supportive and encouraged me to accept the job offer, saying she wanted to move away from our hometown and experience someplace new. So about 3 weeks before moving, she got cold feet and didn't want to go. After talking it through, we decided together that the best choice would be for me to go work for 6-7 months in another state, make good money and then get a job back home in the same field now that I had experience. So that's what I did. We still had our apartment back home that she was living at, so I lived out of my car to save money, showering at Planet Fitness and cooking using a jet boil. I continued to help with rent and sent her a couple $100 each paycheck to help with groceries, gas, etc. While I was away, she got a new job and quickly made a group of friends. I was very excited for her because she was always a bit of a loner by nature. Super soft-spoken and very quiet, only a couple friends and myself. So this was huge. As time went on and she got closer and closer with this group of friends, her and I became a little bit more distanced. One day I noticed in some pictures of her and her friends posted on Instagram, one of the guys was always close to her or had his arm around her. It obviously worried me, but I wanted to be trusting and respectful of her and her friends, so I didn't say anything. Fast forward another month, 2 days before our 6-year anniversary, she broke up with me, over text. I tried to call but she ignored me, claiming she didn't feel herself and she needed to figure things out on her own. Needless to say, I was devastated. It took me a long time to get over her, truth be told I never really did. I was in bad shape for a while, but luckily I had some good friends to lean on. Anyways, 6-7 months after we broke up, she reached out again and we became friends. That eventually led back to us dating again. Now this is when the trickle truth started to come out and why I'm struggling to see a future for us. When we got back together, I asked her a lot about the breakup. I wanted to understand what happened as to fix it and make sure it doesn't happen again. She stuck to her story of trying to figure out who she was and reassured me that it had nothing to do with her male friend. Well, slowly but surely, asking her more and more questions, it came out that they did in fact date for some time after we broke up. They have slept together, she went on trips with him, we weren't dating, but we were talking during that time. She lied to me about who she was going with. She was even still spending time with him since we've been back together. I found out through looking at texts that he was giving her rides home from work. She even lied to him about spending time with me, which honestly is the most troubling. After all this came out, I finally stood up for myself and gave her an ultimatum: either she cuts him out of her life, or we break up. She was very upset and didn't give me an answer for a few days until she finally agreed to cut him out. Since then, I've been struggling to move past it. I feel hurt by all the lying and betrayal. When I think about the future of us, the past still haunts me. It's been a month or two since I gave her the ultimatum, but I still have dreams of her being with him. I hate it. I'm always worried about what she's doing and where she is, and I hate it. That's so toxic and not like me. I want to trust, but I'm struggling. 2 weeks ago she went on a hike with friends and he was there. She claims she didn't know until she showed up and that she stayed away from him. That really hurt me because I felt like her and her other friends aren't respecting my boundaries or our relationship. Sometimes I feel like I may be overreacting, but all of this has been very hard on me and it's making me feel like I need to break up with her for my own mental health. It hurts me to even consider breaking up with her because she's been my best friend since I was in high school. She was the love of my life. I wanted to marry her. On top of that, I'm scared to hurt her. Her family life is toxic, her home life is terrible, and her mental health is not great. I want to support her and see her happy and successful. I'm scared that if I end things with her that it will devastate her. As you can see, I love her so much, I just feel hurt by everything that has happened and it's making it difficult for me to see a happy future for us. I just don't know what to do and would love some advice. Thank you. Edit. I have posted about this before, but I feel like I'm coming to a crossroads where I need to make a decision. If this sounds familiar, that is why. Too long did not read. Girlfriend lied to me about another guy. I'm struggling to move past it. Dude. Get out. You were basically financing her and she probably exploited that as long as possible while getting close to another guy. She didn't want to move with you. When you asked her to either choose you or him, it took days for her to choose you. And she's still going on hikes where he's present. Bullshit, she didn't know. You are dating a girl that doesn't really prioritize you. You were paying rent on an apartment that another dude was using to bang your GF. Just move on with your life and let her new guy chip in for rent. Yeah, no, this will happen again and again. I hope you break up with her because you can find a better person for you. You were told 123 days ago that you shouldn't be in a relationship with her and she used you in your previous post about your NC ultimatum. She wants to still use you for security while screwing this guy. You say you want to support her and basically save her from her toxic family. Here is the hard truth. She is just as toxic and you cannot fix her. The only person that can fix her is her. She will continue to treat you as a wallet with legs and doormat as long as you let her, and no amount of you doing the pick me dance will change that. End this before you get hurt even more. Wow. You are carrying a lot on your shoulders. I got about halfway through your post and had already had enough. But I decided to be patient and finish reading, so I did, and I still feel the same as I did halfway through. I have a lot I want to tell you, but I'd prefer it on DM if you are willing. This hits home for me a lot, so I want to share my experience and wisdom with you if you are open to hearing it. I'll await your response. She lies too much for my taste. It's not like she lied once and came clean. Seems to just be lie after lie. There is so much wrong with this. You lived in your car so she could live in the apartment you shared that you were still contributing to. I mean, that right there is a huge no, but the fact that she broke up with you to date a dude she was obviously flirting with before she broke up with you. How could you ever trust her? Not only did all that happen, but she wasn't even upfront about anything. Hard pass. Grow a pair, keep standing up for yourself, and go find someone that actually respects you. Dang man, are you gonna raise this guy's kid too? My 33F fiancé, 32M, is having an emotional affair with a coworker, 31F. Today's episode. Edit. The coworker came into the picture after we were happily engaged and bought a house. I feel I have done nothing wrong here. If he wants to leave, he can man up and be the bad guy. Edit 2. I can't just leave. I have no local support. I started making a vacation fund and am biding my time. Maybe it's a phase and the money will go towards a vacation, or it will go for a clean exit. I cannot kick him out of the house, legally, as we are both the owners. Sorry, change the locks people. I will not let him play the victim though. If he wants out, he can be a man and start that conversation. He came home and silent treatmented me. So I sent him a text. Once again, I am more than happy to talk redefining boundaries and finance on an occasion that you don't run off to your coworkers all day. It is very rare that we end up with the same day off. Unfortunately, the coworker has today off too. Shortly after I woke up today, he extended me an invitation to go on a hike with her and her dog. I was given no information besides, "IDK soonish," and he hopped in the shower. When he was done in the shower, he told me to go take mine. So I did. As soon as I turned the water off, he yelled through the door for me to hurry up. 5 minutes later, with soaking wet hair, we're on the road. No talking the 20-minute drive there. He sped through winding roads. Eventually we got to the parking lot and see her car. She and the dog are nowhere in sight. Before I'm even out of the car, he took off down the path. Guess I'm not applying sunscreen. Caught up to him at a fork in the path. It's a loop, she could have gone either way. I commented about how she should have waited for us to get there. Who invites people out then takes off on a hike without them? This turned into him screaming back over his shoulder at me for making him late. Okay, I don't need this. I turned around and decided to loop in the other direction. Pulled up my hiking app, selected a 1.5 hours loop around the pond and went. Obviously, instead of turning around and catching up to me, the person he came with, he sticks to his path and tries to find his coworker. It didn't work. Around the 40-minute mark, when I'm at the furthest point from the parking lot, he messages me that he's back at the car. Didn't find her and I better get my ass back or he'll be leaving me there. So I looked at the app, saw a side trail coming up I could divert to and he could drive to come get me at that trailhead. Sent him the info once I got out of a dead zone. We start going home. I comment about 50 minutes not even counting as a hike. He flies off in a rage about me having to ruin his day. Tries to kick me out of the car 3x on the way home for daring to talk. I calmly ask how I should be expected to plan around, soonish as a time frame. I don't read minds. Explained if the invitation presented to me had even been, I want to leave in 30 minutes to meet coworker for a short hike. You can come too. That would at least give me information to work with. Maybe I would have skipped the shower. Maybe I would have declined the invite. He wasn't hearing any of it. Brought up how starting on a trail without the people she invited is not normal behavior. We wouldn't be having the fight if she had just been waiting at the car when we got there. But she's his best friend and can do no wrong. Just yells at me for making drama when I do get invited, making drama when I don't get invited. I have clearly, specifically asked for the same thing multiple times in the past from both of them. Activity, time we are meeting, planned duration. So I can make my choice accordingly. If they don't want to invite me I expect a clear non-invite. Not me finding out they went out when I get home and he's not here and I pry. I extend that courtesy when I go out with my coworkers. Hey, we're hitting blank, you're welcome to join us or I can bring you something home. Anyways, once we got home, he took off. Destination. Her place. I texted her saying that I don't approve of him running off to her right now, instead of talking it out with me, and it feels just as bad as if he was physically cheating. IDK. But if one of my coworkers' spouses sent me something like that I wouldn't proceed to let that coworker hang out at my house for, checks time, 6 hours. I'd send him home and reschedule. Yeah, this took me some effort to get through. Why are you with this guy? The way this read, it was like you were the emotional affair and the coworker is his actual fiancé. This guy sounds like a bum. He's out here treating his fiancé like some friend, while chasing after a coworker like she's the love of his life. Give that ring back and vanish. He's clearly into this coworker, and is willing to risk losing you to stay on good terms with the other lady. And he ran to her place after y'all got back home? Why are you with this guy? This sounds painful, and he is clearly showing you who he is and how important you are to him. To me he seems more like ex-fiancé material, but that is for you to decide, Orange Heart. Why the fuck are you marring this verbally abusive asshole? 6 hours? Yeah, there's something more than emotional affair going on. Even if I got into a huge fight with my boyfriend where I wanted to run off for a few hours, I wouldn't go to the person's house alone that initiated the details of the fight. This isn't an emotional affair, it is a real one. I think he's getting mad because you are in the way, because I think you have already lost him. So let me get this straight. You crashed your husband's date with his coworker and in response his coworker throws a tantrum by hiking without you and your boyfriend throws a tantrum and verbally abuses you. He then afterwards rushes to his coworker's house where they no doubt slept with each other and you're a fool if you don't think so. Leave this dirtbag now. Cut your losses. He's an asshole. I'd never put up with that shit. You shouldn't either. You keep adding a lot of excuses to stay in a shitty situation. Maybe you're naive just about how awful this will be and how far your mental health degrades if status quo. How can we get this poor child to understand she can't come to our house 10x a day every day? About a week ago, a young, 12-13 girl appeared at my parents' house with a toy she'd found outside the gate. It was something my daughter, 4, had left out somehow. My mother, who watches my daughter most weekdays, answered the door. She thanked her for returning the toy and the girl said she was hungry, so my mother gave her some of the lunch she'd made for herself and my daughter. The girl then commenced to ask if there were any sweets she could have, and my mother managed to find some chocolate. Then the girl said she felt ill. My mother said she'd noticed the girl sounded congested, and my brother, who is staying there due to an injury, has immune issues, so my mother was worried the girl potentially had COVID and politely asked her to go back home if she was poorly as we can't risk catching COVID. Since then, everyone who's been at the house has come down with a fever, cough, and chills. My mother was the first and she got tested. It isn't COVID, but it scared us all and we've decided it's not worth it to risk having her, or anyone else who isn't vaccinated, visit again. However, this girl keeps showing up at the gate and trying to get them to buzz her in repeatedly all day every day since. My mother went out and explained to her that she's welcome once everyone has been vaccinated, but until then they're not having any visitors, but it's not working. We suspect she's the child of one of our neighbors, but we're not sure which one as she doesn't seem familiar. My mother did make sure she has a home and someone to care for her, and she confirmed she does, but said she's bored, staying at home, and her parents let her roam the neighborhood, which is fine at her age, but constantly trying to get into my parents' home is not fine. When my mother asked, she didn't give an actual address where we could go talk to anyone though. My mother is afraid of seeming rude because their house is in a very homogeneous area, but we are from Egypt and have had issues in the past of people in the area being hostile because they think we're terrorists, or otherwise don't want us living there. In other words, we are worried about possible retaliation for being too blunt about telling her to shove off, if she happens to come from a family who already resents us and would like an excuse to be cruel. What can we do? Should one of us just keep going out and reminding her every time? If we don't answer, she continually uses the buzzer and calls in over and over, which annoys my parents. I tried asking this on the parenting sub, but it was taken down because I guess I would have to be the girl's parent to ask. Editing to add. My parents' home is in an area where there's literally no home or lot available for less than several £1,000,000. There is no way she lives there and is homeless or starving. She could be someone's household employee's child. But even so, according to my mother, she's noticeably overweight, and when asked if she had food at home, she said she did and that she was just bored. Another edit. My mother said she spoke to another neighbor yesterday who thinks they know where the girl lives, so hopefully we can speak to her parents and get this sorted. Please call CPS and inform them of her situation. Don't ignore this child. Call Children's Services. Kids don't seek out food and strangers this desperately if everything is fine. Call CPS and explain what is happening. Her home life might be bad, especially since she is hungry and wanders the neighborhood. Maybe her caregivers aren't around much, so she has found some stability and comfort around your house instead. Overall, she probably needs help. It isn't your responsibility to take care of her, so let CPS deal with it for you. I don't recommend calling the police because they're more likely to mishandle the situation than CPS. Y'all need to call CPS. It isn't a matter of the child being old enough to be outside. She's wandering around the neighborhood hungry, asking for food. I think you need to ignore her completely. You already told her you are not accepting visitors. Each time you go out to talk to her, you are almost reinforcing her behavior as she is just bored. She may buzz a lot, but after a while she will realize buzzing is boring as no one ever comes out. If you can't contact her parents and you already told her, I think ignoring is the only leftover option. Okay. Your mum needs to call the police and CPS next time this girl comes around. Do they have a doorbell cam so they can show the police and CPS how often she shows up? If not, they need to get one. This is honestly so concerning, and the authorities need to be informed and get involved to find out where the hell this child is coming from and why she's being neglected, and if it's tipped into straight-up abuse. Are you friendly with any of your immediate neighbors? I would talk to as many neighbors as I could about the poor, hungry, neglected child who keeps asking us for food, and ask them for advice on ensuring she stays safe, whether they know which family she comes from, and whether that family is in need of financial or food assistance. And express to them that she got your entire family sick the first time she showed up, so you cannot let her in. It's vital you do this from a place of genuine concern. Gossip will eventually reach the parents, and if they have any shame, they'll rein their child in. Please call CPS. This is not normal, this is not okay. The fact that anybody on this thread said to ignore or bluntly tell her to go away is shocking. Update. I, 22F. Just found out how my parents, 62M50F, really met and I need help. Link to the original post. Hi everyone, sorry for the wait, but I thought I'd update you all. Firstly, thank you to everyone who responded and gave me advice, I really needed it. And #X200B. The first thing I did was have a talk with my mom. I waited until my dad left the house and we both sat down and had a really good talk. I asked her if she was safe, if she was happy, and if they felt loved and cared for in their relationship. She said she does. I asked her if, should things go wrong, she would have money and means to get out of the relationship. She does. I expressed concern about how their relationship started. She said she understood if I needed some time to process and that if I had any questions, she would answer them honestly. And #X200B. After my dad got home, I talked to him. I still am having troubles with my idea of him and who I found out he is. I don't think our relationship will ever be the same again, and he said he understood. I asked him to be honest with me and if he had any attraction towards small children or even teenagers. He said he doesn't. My mom was a kindred spirit sort of love. And #X200B. Last thing I did was give my uncle a call. He lives in a different country and we talked for a bit. He said I am welcome to visit him anytime and I might take him up on it. He was there for my dad through the beginning of the relationship, so I will get some outside perspective. And #X200B. As for my grandparents, I asked my mom about it and she said they had mended their relationship a couple of years before I was born. I don't have a lot of memories of them, but they always seemed very kind. I don't really have the emotional capacity to deal with them right now, so I will probably learn more in the future. And #X200B. Thank you, again, to everyone who has replied. Hopefully this update gives you all some sort of closure. I don't think my relationship with my dad will ever heal, but ultimately we both love the same person, my mom, and that will keep us together. I also want to say that grooming is never okay and that I don't want my parents' story to be a success story of a relationship between a grown adult and a teenager. To all the kids reading this, dating older people is never cool. Even if they say you are mature for your age, or not like other girls, boys, and be pals out there. If you think you are in a situation like this, tell a trusted adult or call the police. It's a hard situation. And I know how you feel. My mom was 13 when she started dating my father, 15 when they got married and 17 when she started having kids. He was in his mid-30s when they met. It seriously sickens me. Thank you for the update. I'm glad that you have somewhat of closure too. And appreciate the note about this not being a success story, and the caution of kids, dating, older PPL. I'm wishing you all the best. Good luck to you. It's messed up, but at least your mom has a career, has resources, and can leave if she ever feels the need to. At times I feel the past is a different country. In the 1970s, how many 30-year-old rock stars and celebrities were hooking up with underage girls, and nobody batted an eye. The idea of ever dating someone you knew when they were 6 and you were already an adult, makes me want to puke. The idea of I actually can't even fully write that sentence without feeling nauseated with anyone I knew when they were 6, no matter how far into the future it was. It's repellent on a very fundamental level. There's one of my friend's kids I met when they were 6. They're now 11. The idea of viewing them in a romantic light 4 years from now? I just don't think most normal people could bring themselves to do that. I asked him to be honest with me and if he had any attraction towards small children or even teenagers. He said he doesn't. My mom was a kindred spirit sort of love. Your dad would be known as a situational child abuser. One who is not exclusively or generally attracted to children but can be in specific circumstances. The kindred spirits belief is a common justification used to try and imply a degree of consent from a person who simply can't consent. Offenders use many delusions to justify their acts. Your father might never have been attracted to another child again after your mother, but the reality is, if he was, he would be unlikely to see it as wrong. It seems you did the best that anyone could do. It's a difficult situation for anyone to be in, but ultimately, you need to respect your mom's feelings, which you have. I'm glad that you are okay. I commented on your first post and am unfortunately in a similar situation. I agree with what you added about not seeing this as a success story, and it really disgusted me at how many people were trying to downplay this situation at first. You are completely valid in your feelings towards your dad changing, and I hope that you can find your own kind of peace for yourself. Men have never been immature for their age. This has been repulsive since most times, and only people who have the thinking of, wait till they're legal, or in complete denial, downplay how finding out someone you respect has had very much grooming and pedo tendencies can be upsetting. Do not normalize sexualizing children. Teenagers are still growing children. If you think hitting your teens makes it okay, you're fed up.